trying to get started.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and welcome to this September 16, 2024 meeting of the Homewood City Council. We don't have any proclamations or announcements tonight, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to start tonight with an invocation from Councilor Harden, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we just first want to thank you for all that you've given us in this wonderful country of ours. We ask that you continue to bless the city of Homewood and bless the citizens and the employees who make this place so great. And we want to thank you for all that you've given us. Amen.
Amen. Everyone will face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Harden. Mr. Sechrist, if you'll please call roll.
Yes, sir. Councilor Gwaltney.
Here.
Gear.
Here.
Almond.
Here.
Wolverton. Sims.
Here.
Jones. Here. Smith.
Here.
Nelms.
Here.
Andrus.
Here.
Harden.
Here.
President White.
Here. All right, so we've got 10 tonight. Next, we have the reading of the minutes from our regular council meeting of August 26, 2024. Those have previously been distributed. I entertain a motion in a second to dispense with the reading of those minutes and for approval of the same.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion for Ms. Smith, second for Ms. Nelms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are approved 10-0. Now we have the minutes from our specially called council meeting of August 29, 2024. I entertain a similar motion for those minutes.
So moved.
Or se-
All right, motion from Ms. Smith, second from Ms. Nelms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are also approved 10-0. We don't have any board vacancies tonight and no additions to the agenda, so I'd entertain a motion and a second for approval of the agenda as published.
So moved.
All right, motion for Mr. Harden, second for Ms. Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's approved 10-0, which brings us to the consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion and a second for approval of that agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Gwaltney, second from Ms. Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also approved 10-0, which brings us to old business. First item, 070824, request to review contract for ambulance service, brought to us by Mayor McCluskey and Chief Broadhead. And we'll start with a report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met and voted 3-0 to send out a notice of cancellation to our current provider because there's a 180-day out clause. And the motion was made by Mr. Harden and seconded by Mr. Gwaltney.
All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 10-0 and will be resolution 24-112. Next item, 210824, request to surplus filing and plan cabinets in the Department of Engineering and Zoning, brought to us by Cale Smith. And another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, committee met and voted 3-0 to recommend approving surplusing the items. There are two large filing cabinets and two smaller cabinet drawers. And the motion was made by Mr. Gwaltney and seconded by Mr. Harden.
All right, Mr. Kendrick, will you give us a first reading, please?
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance to declare certain property as surplus and hereby establish and declare that the following described personal property of the city is no longer needed for public or municipal purposes. Two small filing cabinets and two large filing cabinets from the Department of Engineering and Zoning is depicted in Exhibit A. That the mayor and the city clerk authorize and direct to dispose of the property by auction to the highest bidder.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Any questions or comments about this one? If not, I'd entertain a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
So moved. Second.
Motion for Ms. Gear, second for Mr. Gwaltney, and a roll call vote, please, Mr. Sechrist.
Yes, sir. Councilor Gwaltney.
Yes, sir.
Gear.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrus.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes. All right, so that's 10-0. And we already have a motion from Finance for approval. So another roll call vote, please, Mr. Sechrist.
Yes, sir. Councilor Gwaltney.
Yes, sir.
Gear.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrus.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes. All right, so that is approved 10-0 and will be ordinance 2912. All right, next item, 230824, request for consideration of sponsorship of the Birmingham Bowl, brought to us by Mark Meadows and Counselor Smith, and another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met and voted 3-0 to, I'm sorry, at this point it was 4-0. I believe Mr. Alamon had arrived. And voted to approve the cost, which is the same as last year for $1881, I believe. The motion was made by Mr. Gwaltney and seconded by Mr. Harden.
All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 10-0 and will be resolution 24-113. Next item, 240824, request for consideration of a crosswalk at Palmetto and Broadway, brought to us by Counselor Sims. And we'll start with a report from Public Safety, Mr. Gwaltney.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The committee met and voted 4-0 to recommend approval of this item. The motion was made by Counselor Harden and seconded by Counselor Nelms.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Kendrick, if you'll give us the first reading.
It's an ordinance to provide for the installation of a pedestrian crosswalk on Palmetto Street at the intersection of Palmetto Street with Broadway Street in the city. Be it ordained as follows. The chief of police shall be directed to install a pedestrian crosswalk across Palmetto Street at the intersection of Palmetto Street and Broadway Street. Section 2, all drivers of motor vehicles defined in the Highway Code of Alabama shall kneel to pedestrians located within the crosswalk as defined above. Section 3, any person violating the provisions of this ordinance shall be punished as provided by Section 1-8 of the Code of Ordinances. Section 4, that all ordinances or parts of ordinance contrary to provisions hereof are specifically repealed. Section 5, any part of provisions of ordinance declared to be unconstitutional and invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, such holding shall not affect other provisions of the ordinance. Section 6, the ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by the City Council and approval by the Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sims, second by Ms. Nelms, and a roll call vote, please, Mr. Sechrist.
Yes, sir. Counselor Gwaltney.
Yes, sir.
Gear.
Yes.
Alamon.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrus.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes. All right, so that is 10-0, and we already have the motion from Public Safety. So another roll call vote, please, Mr. Sechrist.
Yes, sir. Counselor Gwaltney.
Yes, sir.
Gear.
Yes.
Alamon.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrus.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes, so that is 10-0 and will be ordinance 2913. Next item, 260824, request for permission to install a parking pad in the right-of-way adjacent to 11 Ventura Avenue, brought to us by Matt Stevens and Wyatt Pugh. Then we'll start with a report from Public Works. Mr. Sims.
Yes, the committee met last week and voted 5-0 to approve this item pending the proper indemnification agreement as well as improvement to the adjacent sidewalk. A motion was made by Counselor Harden and seconded by Counselor Nelms.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a motion from Public Works. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 10-0 and will be resolution 24-114. Next item, 270824, request for permission to replace fence in right-of-way at 118 Edgewood Boulevard, brought to us by Leslie Evans and Cale Smith. And another report from Public Works, Mr. Sims.
Yes, the committee voted 5-0 to approve this item pending the proper indemnification agreement, and then the motion was made by Counselor Harden and seconded by myself.
All right, so we got another motion from Public Works. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 10-0 and will be resolution 24-115. Next item, 150824, public hearing set for September 16, 2024 at 6 p.m. for consideration of a sign variance at 815 Green Springs Highway, Suite 101, brought to us by J.J. Thomas and Talanya Griffin and Wyatt Pugh. And we'll start with a report from Special Issues. Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend sending this out to a public hearing for, well, we were originally set for September 9th before we realized that the dates had been changed. So for tonight at 6 p.m. to refer this item to the full council without recommendation pending the public hearing. The motion was made by Ms. Andrus and seconded by Ms. Gear.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. And I think I see Ms. Griffin is,
Yes.
if you will just tell us what you're asking for here.
Okay, all right. I am the managing member of Cookie Plug, which is a dynamic business specializing in unique, high-quality cookies that are well received in the market here in Homewood. We founded the company a few weeks ago. It is a franchise that is out of Anaheim, California. So with the franchise, there are graphics that kind of bring the whole picture of the company together. Okay, the branding, the cookies, all of that kind of correlates together. So what I was asking, the big window that's in the front to allow me to keep that graphic up there that has the car, and also the ones that are on my door that have the horse. Now the one with the car has become an art piece. I mean, people love to come and take pictures in front of it, so it's kind of become kind of popular in the area. But I do ask that you allow me to keep the graphics up. It does block the proprietary dough and making that we do inside, so that people cannot see, because there's no other walls. It's all glass all the way up and down from floor to ceiling.
Okay. Let me just make sure, but I don't see anybody else out there. Anyone else here to speak for or against this item? Not that I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Mr. Pugh, will you remind us what variances we're talking about here?
The sign ordinance will permit coverage of glass windows at the rate of 20% per pane. This, of course, would exceed that by 80%. So,
okay. Any other questions or comments from council?
And it is already, they're already there. They've
Yes,
been up
they're
since
there
the, yes, they're there now.
And isn't one of the issues that we've always had with something like this is that from a security standpoint, police, things like that, being able to see into the space?
Yes, that is correct. So I've frequently received feedback from some of the staff at the police department on other stores along Green Springs or other places that have full coverage, requesting that we send code enforcement by to remedy that for a security issue or concern.
We have had this come up a number of times on Green Springs in particular, and Oxmoor, that intersection, and I know it has come up a number of times in terms of window coverage, because we've had a number of businesses that we have had to correct on that, and we also not too long ago revised the ordinance to try to solve some of it with it we weren't solving with a couple of businesses. Yeah, Ms. Nelms.
On the entrance door, we're looking at the same thing. Wyatt, right? Even though there's glass up top, it's still too much.
okay, so each individual window or door pane, you can cover 20% of that pane.
Okay. So my next question is, can those graphics remain in full effect and be reduced to meet the variances? In other words, not take away from the graphic or slice the graphic in half, but reduce the size of the graphic so that the full graphic is seen, but say just on the bottom part of the doors, or?
Well, the issue is people are sitting, like they're seating right outside of my door. So people are sitting there looking, directly into my business, so they can sit there and look and see everything that we're doing with our dough and, baking and everything, and people in there. And that, because they're so close, it'd be different if they were driving by or they were parking to come in, but they're sitting right there, eating, watching everything, So that's the challenge I have with, making it smaller, because people will still be peering in. And we still have the open window that, where they order. That still slides open. That's still
Okay, so there's another window on the same side of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
And so I don't go in there. I order from the outside. I don't ever go
Right.
inside your store.
Correct. Nobody ever goes in except for the employees.
Huh.
Yeah, and
That
we
was
keep.
actually my question, is that
Yeah, and we keep
does
it-
not anyone go in there at all to see, to order? It's just all from the outside.
All from the outside, and we keep the doors locked when they're in there.
Oh.
Yeah,
So it's
because
all
we've
to
had
go.
people try to come in, because they
But they're There's still another window that
Yes.
you can see into the store.
It's a walk up, so people can walk up and order there.
Okay.
All the stores are walk ups.
Okay, Mr. Sims.
Yes, thanks for providing that additional background. I was actually there today and looking at it, so I just want, for clarification purposes, and it's on the screen, but so the entrance doors, you said staff entrance only, but that is the side that faces Green Springs directly. And then the window to the kitchen, that's immediately to the left of the stall where you order.
Yes, sir.
And if you look at the other adjacent stalls, I would say there's kind of like some similarities in that layout, because each stall kind of has like a menu or some other type of business design on the wall adjacent to it. I think the difference in this case is you just happen to have a window next to your stall
Right.
instead of a solid surface, which I
Correct.
mean the others are, I think, painted onto maybe concrete block or something.
Right. The others don't have another entry. They just have the front window and the back door. So, and you're right. I'm the only one with the window.
And to be fair, in terms of the public safety argument, one could argue that if the door is locked, there's less
Yeah.
chance of there being a particular issue that police would have to go in to, let's say, take out an unruly customer or whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
And we have
Less
cameras inside and out as
Mr.
well.
Jones.
But I'm still concerned, anyone could go in and cause some type of
well, it's locked, she said.
issue.
Yeah, we keep that door locked.
And it just seems that in terms of protecting your brand, you could easily have a partition within, where you're making the cookies that people would not be able to see while you're making them. But I obviously don't support the variance. We designed it that way for a reason, so I would not be in support.
My concern is how many people we've dealt with over the last couple of years with this exact same issue. That's my concern, and I know we have. I just feel like we've got to. We can't. Right, we got to be consistent. Exactly. I mean, it's going to proliferate if we don't. We've had this exact issue on this exact street multiple times.
That's my concern as well. It's just that we're handling everybody consistently.
No,
So that's what I'm.
now
struggling
this one is a little bit different because it has a seating area right there outside of my door.
It's not a city area. That's owned by
Seating.
the Edge. Oh, a seating area. I'm
Seating,
sorry. Yeah.
seating and tables and
Sure.
chairs, all the way around it.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment. The variances, in the businesses I've seen that, do this, that have done it even after we've asked them to take it down, and they still have these things there. It drives me absolutely nuts, but I wish I could see it, but I pass there every day, and I don't know where it is. But what I am okay with is the fact that there is a complete open facial to the building, to the inside, right? From the same side.
From the Green Springs?
You said there's another window?
Yeah, there's another window. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
And there's
And
another window in the
also
front.
The
That's open.
fact that the graphic on the right is not, like, nobody has a window there.
Right, I'm the only one with the window.
Okay, I just don't recall where it is, but those are the only things that kind of shied me away from being as irate as I usually am about the variance being considered.
And I have one additional thing. I'm assuming how many signs are they allowed to have?
On windows, they can have a sign on each window,
Okay.
as long as it doesn't exceed the 20%.
Right, okay, yeah. Because it says cookie plug on the large graphic with the car. Does it say cookie? I can't tell if it says cookie plug
Yeah, on the
also door.
bottom.
Okay.
On the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. That's another thing. Isn't that the second one considered, Wyatt, or what?
Yes, the one with the horse, it does say cookie plug
No,
somewhere in it, doesn't it?
no, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Mr.
Now,
Sims.
I'm just wondering whether you could take, we allow 20%, is that right?
Yes.
And could you take and get rid of make one door clear, see-through and
No, each door is 20% of each
okay.
pane or each door. So,
So that big long window is one pane.
Yeah.
correct.
I wonder if, to Councilor Jones' point, essentially you could paint a cardboard piece and put it behind the door, right, or a piece of wood.
Or you could do a partition, like on
A
the
partition,
counter.
right? I mean, you can paint it however you want if you want the art to still remain.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then it leaving the window because just to
Open.
support the business,
Yeah.
but removing the one on the doors. And then you figure out inside how you want to cover it up.
Now I'll have to check to see, because with the way the kitchen is angled, I have to see with permit people to see if they'll allow me to put a petition right there, because that would block that exit.
That's true. You're right.
You know, so I don't know if that's such a good idea, because that is an exit.
Julie, if I could just circle back to what you were asking about. The ones on the door don't say cookie plug, but it couldn't count as a mural. And the reason why is because there's a big stack of chocolate chip cookies. Gigantic chocolate.
Oh, yeah, I see them over
It's
there on the side.
commercial in nature.
Yeah, it's a commercial. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, anybody else?
Well, I guess I would be more supportive if the doors went away, and I'd be supportive of the window.
Do you want to make that motion to split it up?
If
Just one question. What about the 20% though of the window?
That would be
So-
the variance.
I think, Brian, if you can put it back up one more time, just so we make sure we know what we're talking about. I think, Mr. Allen, tell me if I'm addressing this correctly. What you're talking about is providing a variance to the window but not the doors.
correct.
I'll second that motion if that's your motion.
Yes, that is my motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
So she gets some of it, but not all.
I'll second it.
All right, so that's a motion from Mr. Allen and a second from Ms. Andrus. Any other questions or comments? Yep, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, but we've got all the businesses on Green Springs. I mean, we need some consistency with how, I mean, we've told all the ones that have 100% coverage, they need to get within compliance. So what, do we go to the next business and say, well, you can keep this part, but don't keep this part, we want to work with you? I just think we need to be consistent with how we govern signs, and that's my only
The less
comment.
consistent we are, the harder any ordinance is to enforce.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you're saying. And
Yes.
not just with this one, but any ordinance. So, all right, any other questions? Did I see someone else with a hand? I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I think that's it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
No.
All right, we're gonna have to do a roll call.
Counselor Baldwin.
No.
Gear.
Yes.
Alomar.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones. No. Smith.
No.
Nels.
Yes.
Andrus.
Yes.
Harden.
No.
President White.
No. So that is 5-5, which, Mr. Kendrick, correct me if I'm wrong, means that it does not, it's not approved, correct? Okay. All right. So that is 5-5, and the motion does not pass. All right.
Well, we have 11 counselors.
Usually. All right. Next item, 280824, request for consideration of creating habitat for monarch butterflies in Homewood, brought to us by Maddie Tarpley of Homewood High School Environmental Club and Counselor Smith. And we'll start with a report from Special Issues. Ms. Smith.
Yes, we heard a presentation from Maddie Tarpley, and it was very interesting, and she had put a lot of thought and work into it. And we voted 5-0 basically to recommend approving her to do this and put her in contact. She's been in contact with the Beautification Board. We were going to put her into contact with the Environmental Commission and also Mr. Squires to determine some areas around town where those habitats could be added. And that was it. Basically voted to accept her presentation and put her in contact with those folks to move forward.
So all we're doing here is accepting her presentation.
Basically,
correct?
yes. And the motion was made by Ms. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Allemon.
All right. So the motion to accept the presentation, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 10-0. Mr. Kendrick, that doesn't need a resolution, correct? Okay. All right, that brings us to the committee referral agenda. I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of that agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Gwaltney, second from Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved 10-0, which brings us to other new business. First item, 050924, request to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Alabama Power for lighting at Greenway Phase 2 and Reese Street. This is brought to us by Cale Smith. This is an item, this was approved previously, everything except the authorization to sign the contract. The lighting, all of that stuff was already approved in a previous item. That's why this didn't go to committee, is simply because we need to go through the formality of authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. So
Make
if
a
anyone's
motion.
got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Second.
All right, motion for Mr. Jones, second for Mr. Gwaltney. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 10-0 and will be resolution 24-116. Last item, 060924, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for the period of August 27, 2024 through September 16, 2024, brought to us by J.J. Bischoff. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I reviewed those, and there were quite a lot, but I've got everything answered, so I would move for approval of those vouchers.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Jones, a second from Ms. Smith. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 10-0 and will be resolution 24-117. Which brings us to the end of the agenda tonight. Mr. Mayor? All right. Mr. Gwaltney?
Someone snuck that one agenda item in for public safety, so I'll set public safety immediately following finance. And I wanted to just say thank you to all of the city staff, the mayor's staff, the city clerk, and everybody that worked on the budget to get it into our hands. And also know that it takes a lot for the department heads and the city employees that have been in the meetings the last couple of nights and many future nights to be here at night after being at work all day. So thank you for all that you do. Those that are still in the room, we appreciate you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gear?
Yes, just a reminder that tomorrow night our Arts Council meets in the City Clerk's Conference Room at 6 p.m. And also Sims Garden Pumpkin and Mum Sale is in full swing, so please take your kids by or for pumpkins and go get your moms. They need our support. That's it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Mr. Almond?
Yes, briefly, I just want to wish everyone a happy Hispanic Heritage Month. It's kickoff today, and we appreciate everyone for everything they do and contribute to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sims?
Yes, I would like to just thank Randy Hambley and his team for going out and refreshing the paint in the area of Edgewood Elementary on a crosswalk and a couple of no parking areas, and also thank him for the work that his team will do to install the new crosswalk we just approved this evening across I was going to say Roseland, but that was the other one they painted, I think. But just appreciate his team, and that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Finance will be at 5, and I'll kind of second Mr. Gwaltney's comments in terms of putting it together. We're on our way with the budget, so we are making great progress. The general fund took a long time, and then capital took a lot as well. And but we're making great progress. So thank you for everybody within the city that has provided a good budget, and thank you everyone that's participating, finance committee, and everyone who's participating with it. If there are any questions as we go through, we have a lot that we're continuing to work on, and I appreciate changing the council meeting dates this month, so it gave us an extra week to pass the budget. That was that's the best news that I could get. So we're going to pass it in our next council meeting on the 30th. So we have a meeting coming up on Thursday, and then we have another one on Monday. So we're going to continue the hard work, but I appreciate everyone's help.
Thank you very much. Ms. Smith?
I have one item as well for special issues, so I'll set special issues to follow public safety, and that is it for me.
All right, thank you. Ms. Nelms?
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, Ms. Andrews?
I want to remind everybody that October 19th is the First Responders 5K, and Paul DeMarco has sent me a list of sponsorship levels if anyone wants to give at I think it starts at $250, but he said he would love to have a lot of counselors. and he's got a lot of state representatives and senators and commissioners, and so he would love to have the city council support as well.
was
But
the
also
date?
to show up and run the race. Was that-
19th.
Yeah, October 19th. And I felt like I had something else, but I didn't write it down, so that's all I can remember. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Harden?
I do want to just thank everybody sitting up here. A lot of static going on right now about us and what we're doing, and I appreciate y'all. I know how hard we've all worked and what we've done to get where we are today, and so I just want to tell everybody how grateful I am for the work they've done and what we're trying to do, which we all believe, all 11 people, is in the best interest of our city.
Thank you very much. All right, I don't have anything tonight, so with that, we will adjourn and see everyone in a couple weeks.